The wind howled through the shattered spires of Kethmaran, carrying with it the acrid smell of plasma burns and the metallic tang of spilled blood. Elder Zarathan pressed her scaled back against the crumbling wall of what had once been the great library, her 3 hearts beating in a rhythm that spoke of exhaustion and despair. Around her, the last 37 members of her people huddled in the ruins, their bioluminescent skin patterns dim with grief. "The hegemony ships circle overhead again," whispered Coulter, his warrior's crest flattened against his skull in defeat. "They're hunting for survivors. We should have died with honor in the last battle." Zarathan's ancient eyes, clouded with age but still sharp with intelligence, gazed upward through the broken ceiling at the alien stars. Her people, the Velthari, had been philosophers and artists, builders of impossible towers that sang with the wind. They had cultivated beauty for 7,000 years, never knowing that their peaceful nature would make them prey to the hegemony's hunger. "No," she said, her voice carrying the weight of countless poems never written. "We survive because we must witness. Someone must remember what we were." The children, barely 12 younglings, left clustered around her feet, their scales dulled to gray. They had been born into war, had never seen the crystal gardens in bloom or heard the dawn choruses from the city's singing towers. Their innocence had been stolen by orbital bombardments, and the screams of their parents died in the distance. The sound of hegemony war machines echoed across the wasteland. The conquerors weren't satisfied with victory, they wanted total erasure. Every Velthari cultural site, every sacred grove, every piece of art was being systematically destroyed. The hegemony didn't just take worlds. They devoured souls. Elder, young Vanasha approached, her small hands clutching a battered communication device. "The old quantum transmitter. It still has power. We could send one last message to the void." Zarathan took the device, feeling its weight like a stone in her palm. Who would listen? The Galactic Council had formally regretted the Velthari situation but declared intervention politically inadvisable. The Free Worlds Alliance had sent condolences and prayers. The Merchant Confederacy had offered to buy Velthari art at reduced prices, considering the circumstances. But there was one species that had never answered any galactic communication. The humans of Earth, newcomers to the cosmic stage, barely 300 years into space travel. They were considered primitive by most, barbaric by some. They had no grand fleets, no ancient wisdom, no claim to galactic significance. "What do we know of humans?" Zarathan asked quietly. Coulter's scarred face twisted in what might have been a smile. "They're violent, stubborn. Their own histories are filled with wars over territories smaller than a single Velthari city. They fight each other over water, over ideology, over the color of their skin, and yet," Zarathan's voice grew thoughtful, "they're the only species that never sent diplomats to the hegemony, never tried to negotiate, never tried to appease." With trembling fingers, she activated the transmitter. The device hummed to life, its quantum field reaching across the void toward the small blue world that had refused to bend the knee to galactic politics. Her message was simple. "We are the Velthari. We are dying. We are alone. We will be forgotten. But we lived. We loved. We created beauty. Someone, somewhere, should know we were here." The transmission faded into the cosmic background radiation, joining the death songs of 100 other extinct civilizations. Zarathan closed her eyes, preparing for the final sleep. Above them, the hegemony ships continued their slow, methodical patrol, unaware that their perfect conquest was about to become their greatest mistake. Asterisk aboard the Earth Defense Force frigate Indomitable, orbiting the lunar shipyards. Captain Sarah Chen stared at the transmission log with growing fury. The message had been intercepted by a deep space monitoring station, buried in routine cosmic noise until a junior communications officer named Rodriguez had noticed something odd about the quantum signature. "Play it again," Chen commanded, her knuckles white as she gripped the command chair. The haunting voice filled the bridge alien, musical, heartbroken. Around her, the multinational crew of the Indomitable fell silent. These were soldiers who had seen the worst of human nature, who had fought pirates in the asteroid belt and put down insurrections on the outer colonies. But this was different. This was the sound of a species dying with dignity. "Mum," Lieutenant Williams spoke up from the tactical station. The quantum signature traces back to the Kethmaran system. Intel says it's been under hegemony control for 2 years. Chen's jaw tightened. The hegemony, the self-proclaimed masters of the galactic order. They had sent exactly one message to Earth: submit to our authority or face consequences. Earth's response had been characteristically human. Come and take it. Captain, came a voice from the communication station. We're receiving priority transmissions from Earth Command. Admiral Hassan wants to speak with you immediately. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Admiral Amara Hassan, the iron-willed commander of Earth's combined forces. Her uniform bore the scars of the Titan rebellion, and her dark eyes held the weight of 1,000 difficult decisions. Captain Chen, Hassan's voice was gravelly. You've heard the transmission. Yes, ma'am. Orders? Hassan's expression was stone. Earth Command has been monitoring hegemony movements for months. They're not just conquerors, they're exterminators. Every species they've integrated has been systematically erased. The Velthari are just the latest, and the Galactic Council, strongly worded letters and economic sanctions that mean nothing to a species that takes what it wants. Hassan's disgust was palpable. They've watched 17 civilizations die in the past decade. 17. Chen felt the familiar cold fire in her chest, the same feeling she'd had when pirates had attacked a civilian transport, when corporate militias had gunned down striking miners. What are our assets? Limited, the indomitable, the defiant, and the retribution. 3 ships against a galactic empire. The Council will formally condemn us. Half the galaxy will call us reckless warmongers. Earth's government will probably disavow us after the fact. And if we do nothing? Hassan's smile was sharp as a blade. Then we're not who we think we are. Chen looked around her bridge. Williams, at Tactical, his family killed by hegemony tax collectors in the Proxima system. Rodriguez at Communications, whose grandmother had fled Earth's wars only to see her adopted world burn under hegemony rule. Petty Officer Kim at the engineering station, whose daughter had been murdered by hegemony peacekeepers for protesting their occupation. Ma'am, Chen said slowly, request permission to take the task force to the Kethmaran system. Permission. Denied, Captain. Chen's heart sank. Because, Hassan continued, you're not taking the task force. You're taking the entire Fifth Fleet. I'm coming with you. On the view screen, space began to fill with Earth ships, not the sleek, elegant vessels of the advanced civilizations, but the angular, armored predators that humans built. Ships named for battles, for fallen heroes, for lost causes that had become victories. Captain, Rodriguez called out. We're receiving a transmission from the Velthari system. It's another message. The same voice, weaker now. We see lights in the sky. More ships. We prepare for the end. But we thank whoever heard our song. Chen's voice was steel. Rodriguez, open a channel to the Velthari. All frequencies. Captain, the hegemony will intercept. I'm counting on it. Her smile was savage. To the Velthari people, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We heard your song. We're coming. Hold on. She turned to her crew. All hands, prepare for jump. We're going to remind the galaxy what happens when you pick on someone smaller than you. The ships began to move, their engines burning blue-white against the stars. Asterisk, the hegemony fleet. Admiral Vexthara stood in the command center of the dreadnought Absolute Dominion, watching the systematic destruction of the last Velthari settlement. Through tactical displays, her chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the harsh lights, and her compound eyes tracked the movements of her hunter-killer squadrons. With predatory satisfaction, Admiral, her intelligence officer, Kermask, approached. With measured steps, we've intercepted unusual transmissions from the Kethmaran system. An unknown species has declared hostile intent. Vexthara's mandibles clicked in amusement. Another species wishes to be our example. How delightful. Deploy the standard intimidation protocols. Mum, the quantum signatures don't match any known galactic fleet. The ships appear to be primitive, angular construction, fusion drives, kinetic weapons, but the formation is unlike anything in our databases. Show me. The tactical display shifted to show space near the system's edge, where empty void had been moments before. now blazed a constellation of new star ship drives burning at maximum thrust. The formation was indeed unusual, not the elegant spirals of the Galactic Navy or the geometric perfection of the Council fleets, but something that looked almost organic, like a pack of wolves closing on wounded prey. "Magnify," Vexthara commanded. The image resolved into individual ships scarred, battle-worn, decorated with symbols that spoke of violence and victory. Unlike the smooth, flowing lines of advanced civilizations, these vessels looked like they had been built in shipyards that still echoed with the sound of hammers on metal. "Admiral," Kermask's voice carried a note of confusion. "These are human ships from Earth." Vexthara's amusement deepened. "The primitives, how quaint. I was wondering when they would attempt to play with their betters." Below on Kethmaran, Elder Zarathan felt the ground tremble as massive forms descended through the atmosphere. But these weren't the sleek dropships of the hegemony. These were burning meteors, their heat shields glowing white-hot as they plunged toward the surface with reckless abandon. "Vanasha," she called to the young one. "The communication device, do you still have it?" The child's hands shook as she activated the transmitter. Static filled the air, then a voice harsh, urgent. Speaking in accented galactic standard, "Velthari survivors, this is Colonel Martinez. Earth Defense Force, we are beginning planetary assault. Seek shelter immediately. We're coming to get you." The drop pods hit the surface like thunder, their impacts sending shockwaves through the ruins. Retro rockets fired at the last second, slowing the pods just enough to prevent total destruction. Ramps exploded outward, and from the smoke and flame came figures in powered armor, not the elegant environmental suits of the Council species, but heavy, angular battle plate that looked like it had been forged in the heart of a star. The humans emerged with their weapons ready, but what struck Zarathan was their movements. They didn't advance like the methodical hegemony troops. They moved like hunters, like warriors who had learned to fight in the ruins of their own cities. Their armor was decorated with symbols, snarling animals, ancient words, the names of battles and fallen comrades. "Contact front," one of them shouted in their harsh tongue. "Hegemony patrol." 300 meters, the sky above erupted in fire, as human fighters screamed overhead, their engines leaving trails of flame. These weren't the silent, efficient craft of advanced civilizations. These were machines that roared their defiance at the void, that burned fuel like offerings to the gods of war. Colonel Martinez himself appeared before the Velthari survivors, his helmet retracting to reveal a scarred face and eyes that held too much knowledge of loss. "Elder Zarathan, you know my name? Your message traveled farther than you think. I'm sorry we're late. Can you move? We need to get you to the extraction point." "Why?" The question escaped her before she could stop it. "Why did you come?" Martinez's expression was grim. "Because nobody else would, and because we know what it's like to stand alone." He gestured to his soldiers. "These men and women, they've seen their own worlds burn. They've lost families, friends, entire colonies to the hegemony. We couldn't save them, but we can save you." Round them, the battle raged. Human soldiers fought with a ferocity that shocked the Velthari. They didn't just fight, they fought dirty, using every tactic, every advantage, every trick that 300 years of human warfare had taught them. They turned the hegemony's own strengths against them, using their superior numbers and firepower to create chaos and confusion. "This is impossible," Vexthara snarled from her command ship. "They're primitives. Where did they learn to fight like this?" Her tactical officer's voice was tense. "Admiral, we're losing ground forces across 17 battle zones. The humans are using unconventional tactics. They're fighting like they have nothing to lose. Then we'll teach them what they have to lose. Prepare the orbital bombardment. Turn the planet to glass." But as her weapons charged, new contacts appeared on the tactical display. More human ships, arriving in waves, not elegant formations, but desperate, furious charges that spoke of species that had learned to fight for survival. The sky above Kethmaran burned with the light of 1,000 suns, and for the first time in years, the Velthari dared to hope. The orbital battle above Kethmaran had been raging for 18 hours. When Admiral Hassan received the transmission that would change everything, her flagship, the Retribution, bore the scars of direct hits from hegemony plasma cannons. But her crew fought on, with the grim determination of a species that had learned to win ugly. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Okafor reported from the tactical station. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. It's the President. Hassan's jaw tightened. She had expected this. The political fallout from their unauthorized intervention would be severe. Earth's government would be forced to choose between supporting their military and maintaining their tenuous position in galactic politics. Put him through. President Chen's weathered face appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from the Oval Office. Behind him, Hassan could see the weight of the decision in his eyes. Admiral Hassan, what is your current status? We're engaged with a superior hegemony force, Mr. President. Casualties are mounting, but we're holding position. The Velthari evacuation is proceeding. Admiral, I've been in contact with the Galactic Council. They're demanding we withdraw immediately and turn over the Velthari survivors to hegemony custody. They're threatening full economic sanctions against Earth. Hassan's voice was steel. Understood. Sir, Admiral, the Council has also informed me that Earth was never formally invited to join the galactic community. They can revoke our access to trade routes, to communication networks, to everything that makes human expansion possible. Around the bridge, Hassan's crew continued their duties, but she could feel their tension. These were the children of Earth, the inheritors of a species that had clawed its way from caves to the stars. They had always known this day would come. Sir, Hassan said quietly, my grandmother used to tell me stories about a place called Warsaw, about people who stood up when everyone else looked away, about choosing to be right instead of choosing to be safe. President Chen's expression was pained. Admiral, I can't order you to continue this action. The consequences for Earth would be catastrophic. You're not ordering me, sir. I'm telling you what we're going to do. Below on the planet's surface, Colonel Martinez crouched beside Elder Zarathan in the ruins of an ancient temple. The Velthari elder was dying, her 3 hearts finally failing, after decades of stress and sorrow, but her eyes still held the fire of her people's determination. Colonel, she whispered, why do your people fight so hard for strangers? Martinez looked up at the burning sky, where human ships traded fire with vessels 10 times their size. Because we've been where you are. My own parents died. When corporate militias attacked their colony, no one came to help them. No one even noticed, and yet you survive. We learn, we adapt, we remember. He gestured to his soldiers, who were setting up defensive positions around the temple. Every one of these soldiers has a story like mine. We're not the biggest species, or the smartest, or the most advanced, but we're the ones who show up. Vanasha, the young Velthari who had operated the communication device, approached quietly. Colonel Martinez, the other children, they want to know if Earth will really accept us. If we'll have a home. Martinez's scarred face softened. Kid, Earth has been taking in refugees for centuries. We've got room for dreamers, artists, and philosophers. Especially philosophers. We could use more of those. The ground shook as another hegemony bombardment struck nearby. Martinez's communicator crackled to life. All units. This is Admiral Hassan. Be advised, we are officially on our own. Earth Command cannot support this action. Repeat, we are disavowed. A silence fell over the tactical channel. Then, one by one, the voices of Earth's warriors came through. Understood. Admiral, Indomitable remains on station. Defiant copies. We're not going anywhere. Valiant confirms. Let's finish this. Martinez smiled grimly. You hear that, Elder? We're not Earth's military anymore. We're just humans who decided this was worth fighting. For Zarathan's eyes widened. You would sacrifice your homeworld for us? We're not sacrificing anything. We're choosing who we want to be. Martinez stood, checking his weapon. Besides, Earth has a long history of people being told they can't do something, usually. That just makes us more determined. In space, the tide of battle was turning. The hegemony's superior technology was being countered by human tactics that no galactic military academy taught. Earth's ships used asteroid fields as cover, employed ramming attacks that horrified civilized species, and coordinated their fire in patterns that spoke of a species that had learned warfare in the crucible of survival. Admiral Vexthara watched her perfect battle plan crumble as human fighters swarmed her capital ships like angry insects. This is impossible. They're fighting without coordination, without proper tactical doctrine, Admiral. Her tactical officer reported. They're not fighting without coordination. They're fighting with coordination we don't understand. Their battle patterns, they're based on predator pack behaviors. They're hunting us on the bridge of the retribution. Admiral Hassan watched as the last hegemony ship broke and ran. The battle was won, but at terrible cost. Half the human fleet was gone, and Earth itself now faced an uncertain future in the galactic community. Admiral Okafor reported, "We're receiving another transmission from the Velthari. It's Elder Zarathan." The elderly alien's face appeared on screen, her features peaceful despite her obvious pain. "Admiral Hassan, my people have a song of gratitude. May I sing it for you?" "Of course, Elder." The haunting melody filled the bridge, speaking of loss and hope, of ending and beginning. When it finished, Zarathan spoke softly. "We have learned something today. The galaxy is vast and full of great civilizations, but only one species answered when we cried out. Only one species remembered what it means to be alone." Hassan's voice was rough with emotion. "The evacuation ships are standing by, Elder. You and your people will be safe." "Yes." Zarathan smiled. "We will be safe, but more than that, we will be remembered, and that is a gift beyond measure." As the human fleet prepared to leave the system, carrying the last of the Velthari people to safety, the galaxy watched in shocked silence. The primitives from Earth had done the impossible. They had reminded the cosmos what courage looked like. Part 5. The legend born 5 years after the Battle of Kethmaran. The galaxy had learned to fear the ships that bore the insignia of Earth, not because they were the largest or most advanced, but because they appeared where no sane military force would dare to venture. The name Earth's Wolves had become synonymous with impossible rescues and hopeless last stands. Ambassador Riltoven of the Galactic Council shifted uncomfortably in his chair as Admiral Hassan entered the conference room aboard the neutral station New Geneva. The human officer looked older, her face bearing new scars from campaigns across the Outer Rim, but her eyes held the same uncompromising steel that had shaken the galaxy's foundations. Admiral Riltoven's voice carried the weight of centuries of diplomatic protocol. "The Council has reconsidered its position regarding Earth's status in the galactic community." Hassan's expression remained neutral. "Oh, the hegemony has suffered significant losses in the past 5 years. 17 occupied worlds have been liberated by unauthorized military actions. The perpetrators always seem to disappear before our peacekeeping forces can respond." "How unfortunate," Hassan replied, her tone carefully neutral. The truth was more complex than the ambassador cared to admit. After Kethmaran, Earth had indeed been expelled from the galactic community. Cut off from trade routes and communication networks, humanity had been expected to retreat to their home system and accept their isolation. Instead, they had done something unprecedented. They had built their own network, starting with the Velthari, refugees who had shared their knowledge of ancient star charts and forgotten trade routes. Earth had begun reaching out to other species that the galactic community had overlooked. The survivors of extinct civilizations, the outcasts, the refugees who had nowhere else to go. One by one, they had joined what historians would later call the Alliance of the Dispossessed. Admiral Riltoven continued, "We have received requests from several member worlds, requests for Earth's assistance in dealing with certain problems that our conventional forces seem unable to address." Hassan's smile was thin. "Such as? The Kaleri Syndicate has been trafficking in sentient beings from the Outer Rim. Our sanctions have proven ineffective, and the pirates operating out of the Nexus Nebula have been attacking civilian transports. Our patrols have been unable to locate their base." "Interesting problems," Hassan mused. "What does the Council propose?" Riltoven's diplomatic facade cracked slightly. "We propose a limited partnership. Earth would be granted autonomous status within the galactic community. You would be free to operate as you see fit, without Council oversight. In exchange for assistance with certain situations, You want us to be your attack dogs. I prefer to think of it as specialized peacekeeping. Hassan was quiet for a long moment, thinking of the refugee camps in Earth's outer colonies, of the children who had been rescued from burning worlds, of the civilizations that had been given second chances. I'll need to consult with my government, of course, but Admiral, the Council hopes you understand that this is a generous offer. Earth's actions have been destabilizing to the galactic order. Ambassador Hassan's voice carried an edge of steel. You seem to misunderstand something. We're not seeking your approval. We're not asking for permission. We're offering to help because someone needs to. She stood to leave, then paused. But I will say this, the next time a civilization sends out a desperate signal for help, ask yourself, who do you think they'll call? The Council, with its committees and protocols and strongly worded letters? Or the species that actually shows up on the observation deck of the Retribution? Elena Rodriguez, now a captain herself, stood with a group of young officers, watching the stars. Among them was Velthari Lieutenant Vanasha, the child who had operated the communication device during the siege. She had grown into a brilliant tactical officer, her artistic people's gift for pattern recognition making her invaluable in combat situations. Captain, one of the younger officers asked, is it true that the Council wants us back? Rodriguez smiled. They want us to come back and play by their rules. That's different, will we? What do you think, Lieutenant Vanasha? The young Velthari's skin patterns shifted to display colors that spoke of determination mixed with wisdom. My people have a saying, the star that shines alone may seem small, but it guides travelers through the darkness. Earth chose to shine alone rather than dim its light to match others. And that's why, Rodriguez concluded, the galaxy is full of species that tell stories about the humans who came when no one else would. We're not the largest fleet, or the most advanced, or the most numerous, but we're the ones who answer the call. Behind them, the massive bulk of the new Velthari moved into formation, one of the first ships built jointly by human and Velthari engineers, its hull decorated with both the angular efficiency of human design and the flowing artistry of Velthari culture. It was the flagship of the refugee fleet, a mobile civilization that had become home to the survivors of a dozen extinct species. Contact coming in, the communications officer announced. Priority transmission from the Sigma Draconis system. They're requesting immediate assistance. Something about their children being taken by slavers. Rodriguez's expression hardened. Time to departure, 20 minutes. If we push the engines. Do it. She turned to the young officers. Gentlemen, ladies, beings of various species, we have work to do. As the Earth Alliance fleet prepared for another impossible mission, the story spread through the galactic networks. Not the sanitized version that would appear in official histories, but the true story told by survivors around campfires and in refugee camps. The story of the day when hope had died and been reborn. When the galaxy had learned that sometimes the smallest voice could carry the farthest. They had given up hope until Earth's warriors descended from the skies, and now, whenever the darkness grew to deep and the silence to complete, beings across the galaxy would look up at the stars and whisper the same prayer. Send us the humans. Send us the ones who come. The legend had been born not in victory, but in the choice to fight when fighting seemed impossible. And it would endure as long as there were those who needed someone to answer their call.